How to use the Creaking Heart in Minecraft. The Creaking Heart is a new living block that is added in the Winter Drop update. The Creaking Heart will generate resin clumps that can be crafted into new blocks like the resin block and the resin bricks. Also, the Creaking Heart can spawn a new mob, the Creaking. How to use the Creaking Heart. First, if you want to know how to get a Creaking Heart, I'll have a card on the top right to a video. The Creaking Heart is a directional block that can be placed in any orientation. You can tell the orientation of the Creaking Heart as the top and bottom will have the texture of a log and the other four sides will have a connected pattern. If you want to drop the block, you will have to mine it with the Silk Touch enchanted tool, otherwise it will be destroyed. Any tool can be used on it, but the axe is the quickest. The Creaking Heart does have a hardness of 10 and may take a couple of seconds to mine. If you do break the Creaking Heart, it will draw 20 to 24 experience and 1 to 3 resin clumps that can be increased by 1 per level of fortune, with the most possible being 6 resin clumps at fortune 3. The Creaking Heart will have two states. One is disabled and the other is active. When it is active, this is very visible as the Creaking Heart will become illuminated with an orange color and emit an eerie sound. When it is disabled, it will have more of a grayish color and not be illuminated. A Creaking Heart is active when there is a pale oak log that is above and below the heart. If the orientation is different, you'll have to place the pale oak logs differently, but it is still above and below. Also, instead of pale oak logs, the blocks above and below can be stripped pale oak logs or stripped oak wood, but not planks. The orientation of the log has to be the same as the Creaking Heart, meaning they all need to be placed the same way. For the Creaking Heart to spawn a creaking mob, it has to be at night or during a thunderstorm. If it is active in the overworld, the Creaking Heart only works in this dimension. It waits 2 ticks or 0.1 seconds and checks for the logs above and below. If there isn't a linked creaking, it finds a valid location of 33 by 17 by 33 blocks centered around the Creaking Heart. A valid location would be a solid block or solid top surface. It can't be leaves, non-solid blocks, or liquids in the hitbox of the creaking. It'll check for the pale oak logs around it again, and after 2 ticks or 0.1 seconds, spawns a creaking mob. This creaking will be linked to the heart, meaning it can only spawn one creaking at a time, and that creaking has to stay within a 32 block radius of the Creaking Heart. The creaking is a grayish brown mob with an off-center head and resembles a pale oak tree. They are meant to defend the Creaking Hearts from being broken. The creaking is invulnerable to all damage and can't be killed. The creaking will start in an unalerted state and wander aimlessly like most mobs in the game. It will become alerted when it enters within 12 blocks of the player's field of vision. This is based on the default field of vision in the game of 70 degrees. Once the creaking is alerted, its eyes will become orange and it will stand still. As long as you look at the creaking, it will not move. Once you look away from the creaking, it will move towards you and headbutt you. The headbutts will be 2 damage on easy, 3 on normal, and 4 on hard. You can get the creaking to despawn by pushing it 32 blocks away from the heart it is linked to when it becomes day or the thunderstorm ends, or if you break the heart it is linked to. Removing the logs around the heart won't kill the creaking, it will have to be the heart. There is more to the creaking, but I wanted to give a short summary to know what you are dealing with. When the creaking is hit by a player, the creaking will have a stream between it and the Creaking Heart it is linked to. The stream will cover the pale oak logs within a 2 block distance of the heart, producing 2 to 3 resin clumps. There's a 5-second cooldown between these clumps generating when you hit the creaking mob, so you can't spam it with attacks. These resin clumps can appear on all sides of the pale oak log. They can be broken by any tool or by hand and will drop 1 resin clump. This cannot be increased with a fortune enchantment. The other interesting use of the Creaking Heart is with the redstone comparator. When a redstone comparator is facing out from the heart, it can output a redstone signal depending on the distance the creaking is within the 32 block radius of the heart. The maximum redstone signal is 15. The closer the creaking, the higher the redstone signal. I'm not sure what the application of this is, but it is interesting.